When are we going to get the details, Mr. Chairman, of this tax 2.0?
Yeah, so the answer is very soon, and here's why. Look, the original tax cuts got the economy booming, so we want to lock in those reforms, make them permanent, both on the family and the small business side. We also think there are some areas of the tax code, like in helping families and businesses save more, that frankly we didn't get to in tax reform, so we're going to tackle those as well in a very positive way. Here's what we're going to do. We had a great meeting with the president this week. Early next week, we're going to begin our listening round with our House Republicans, fine-tune, adjust, have this outline out in August. Then we expect a vote on the U.S. House floor in September.
You know, that's really fascinating, because one of the things I think that you've been talking about is changing the culture of tax reform and saying, hey, wait a minute, this should not be something that happens every 30 years. We should be doing this on an annual basis to keep up with foreign competitors, no?
That is thank you. That's exactly right. Look, we can't go back the old ways, doing this every 30 years. Our most successful businesses wake up every day asking, how do we become more innovative, more competitive, better? So Congress every year ought to be looking at America's tax code, ask ourselves the same thing. How do we become more competitive and innovative and better? So this is starting a different approach on Capitol Hill.
And I don't want to get too far into the weeds here, but for investors outside of the Beltway trying to gauge how exactly this might all impact their portfolios, you're going to have to use a different procedural hurdle now. You're not going to be able to use this wonky process known as reconciliation like you were for the last tax battle. So does that mean you're going to need some Democrats, and do you think you could get them on the issue of health care?
Yeah, I think really in the Senate is the issue. We expect a strong vote in the House, and then in the Senate, you know, they'll need 60 votes. We know many Senate Democrats said they voted against the bill because it wasn't permanent. These sections will give them the chance to do that. They also, I think, believe we can help families save more and earlier. This is a key part of 2.0. And then we've got one other measure dealing with innovation in startup, another part of culture we want to change. Every year, how do we make America and our businesses more innovative? And so we think that could draw Democrat support as well.
You know, you look at what economists are predicting in terms of the economic growth that tax reform had on the U.S. economy and GDP, and then you'd also take a look at how economists are factoring in the president's trade proposals. You've been somewhat critical of how some of the president's trade proposals, particularly on metals and commodities, might impact economic growth. I'm wondering if in your meeting earlier this week at the White House, did you raise any of those concerns? Do you think the president's going to change his mind? We're hearing a lot from the auto sector ahead of the EU commissioners meeting at the White House next week.
Yeah, so we are. Look, we do think the president's right to challenge China and unfair trade practices. We want those to be targeted approaches. Right now, we think it's too broad and frankly sweeps in too much to the economy and creates punishment both here in America and our allies that are unnecessary. So we're working with the White House on how to more narrowly target this issue. The other thing is you know, more than 100 House Republicans have signed a letter basically telling the Trump administration, look, you're right to ask the question, do we have a level playing field for automotives and automotive products in America? Their point to the president is be cautious. This is a major part of our industry. Think about the whole trading relationship, about the importance of R&D here. So it's basically saying take a look at the whole issue of national security and economic security as you're weighing the investigation.
Yeah, you know, I was struck by that because, as you know, the Commerce Department right now, Mr. Chairman, is undergoing the comment review period in terms of the impact that the increase in tariffs will have on the auto sector. Virtually every U.S. auto dealer is against this, and they're saying forget about portfolio managers for a second, forget about stock prices. The price that this could have and the impact that this could have on folks getting a car repair, you know, in your district, for example, could be pretty negative. Does that concern you?
Well, I think it concerns a number of members. So the question is, is the investigation looking at the broader issues? National security doesn't seem to be an area where automotive and auto parts would fit. But so one, look at the whole picture in this issue. Secondly, what is the response from the administration going to be? I think that will better inform us what the impacts are going to be. I think actually 232, national security, should be used very, very rarely.
Right.
Perhaps the administration in their approach here looking at uranium may well have picked an area that provision was ideally suited for. It's early to tell, but I think that's an area that it may have been designed to do.